Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit. A new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing. Cut it close with Hovels. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb. Manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA. Hi out there, this is Quilty and I'm Mary Fons. I'm here with Chelcie Laggis. Chelcie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
It's pretty cool to have Chelcie on the show because the quilt behind us is one in a million, but also Chelsea's fella, your beau, is on sound right now. Matt Hyland.
Yes.
Hi, Matt. Hi. Yes, he's running sound. There's the boom mic. Exactly. So we met a while ago because Matt works on the show, and we were talking about quilts. I want to talk about your background a little bit. We're going to jump into this quilt really soon. Tell me what you do.
I am a textile artist. I mainly am a weaver. So I weave pillows and just other home decor items, as well as kind of fashion items, but and artwork as well. So absolutely. I just anything woven. And I'm gonna say something. We're actually filming this in a studio within your home. Chelcie lives here, not on the Quilty set, but we do this, and your artwork is extraordinary. It's all over the house. I mean, I could go on. And we're gonna look at a piece in just a minute, but very talented. And Chelcie went to the School of the Art Institute, which is one of the premier art schools in the country, probably in the world. But there was a turning point in your life, and that's where the quilt comes in. Yes. So tell me what happened and how this happened. Well, when I first got into art, I was very not sure of myself because it was kind of came from nowhere. Sure. And I had my first solo art show in a neighborhood called Andersonville in Chicago, which is a really great neighborhood with lots of vintage shops, and it just was this validation of like, I'm going to be doing this, and the artwork was, looking back, not that great now. I look back at the first Quilty episodes and I'm like, oi, but yeah. Exactly. But important. It was very important. It was very important, yeah. It was a big stepping stone, and I had the show, and it went great, and I made some sales. And the next day I had to pick some stuff up from the gallery, and I went into an amazing vintage, one of a million up in Andersonville, shops, and found this quilt within a trunk full of really tattered old quilts that were still beautiful, but this one just seemed in really great shape while still having amazing vintage fabric and qualities, and it's all hand stitched. And let's take a look. I mean, we could talk for an hour, and people would come and see this in a gallery and stand in front of it for a really long time. Absolutely. Because there's so much going on. Okay, so what fabric did you see first? What was the first visual you got here? This very bold red and green. Yeah, that is, you don't see fabric like that. There's a lot of fabric out there, but there's something about some of these vintage prints from, I'm thinking, I don't know, I can't even date this, the 40s? I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but it's perfect. It's perfect fabric, yes. It's perfect. Yes, exactly, perfect fabric. Okay, and then, I mean, you may have seen some of the rabbit hair that's on this. Yes, there's fur. There's leather. Yep. We think that there is human hair. Yeah, let's look at this. On these little leather human. That is people. A suede person, and I'm pretty sure that's human hair. Yeah, it's kind of spooky. There's elements of this quilt that are a little not spooky. That gives kind of a negative connotation, but it is full of life. And you were saying that date over there. Do you know if you could? It's 75, 76, and it says Susan K. Armstrong. I think I have a theory. Yeah, but you probably do too. It's a baby. A baby that didn't live, So you were saying there's life in this quilt, right? What are some clues that you get? There are garments. There's a beret and a mitten up there, and pieces of hankies and scarves and ties. And I think there's a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year little doily. It's just all so special. And why would this person put all of these fabrics together if they weren't all so special? Right, because technically it doesn't really
work, right? Except that of course it works because it's their life. And we were like, what is this shape in the? I think it's a tree, right? Is it the tree of life or something?
Like a river, too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Because you have the sun, and these are the rays of the sun. And then you have a house down here. That's the house. And the horses and everything. But, I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, it's like, well, it could be that. But you know, I read somewhere that if you're decorating your house, you shouldn't try to match things necessarily. You shouldn't try to get everything just perfect, and you shouldn't worry if something will go or not. You probably are, you know, well aware of this concept, whether you've heard it in this way or not. But the thing that I read was that if you like it, if you like a chair and you like a table and you like it'll go because it's you. You know, it's your style, it's your reflection. And I feel the same way about this quilt, is that it totally works. None of it goes. But it's her style, it's her stuff.
And I'm a textile artist, but I don't do a lot of, or any quilting.
Sure.
And so I think also, not yet, yes. Also, when I bought this, I was gaining inspiration from the stitches, and also it just seemed attainable to me because it was so crazy.
Yes.
And because they were almost like just slapped on.
Yeah.
A lot of it is applique. So to me, it was like this, I could do this one day. Maybe not now.
Totally.
Maybe. After I focus on weaving for a little longer.
Focus on weaving.
But yeah, it's also just this untraditional quilt, and that's what I really like in textile in general. I like to do things a little off of tradition.
And you know, that's like this to me is an art quilt or a studio art quilt. And we talked about this a little bit before, that in the 80s, mostly it was in the 1980s where it began, the studio art quilt movement, because people were seeing quilts as legitimate art. And as you know, like working in textiles and things, there's this folk art thing, this native art thing, or this woman's work. There's a lot of social complications when you start talking about quilts as art. There's one, I think it's Nancy Crow, a very famous quilt artist or quilt maker. She hates the term art quilt because she says you wouldn't say art painting. You know, it's like, why aren't quilts just art, period? And there's a lot to be said about that. But this, to me, was not made for warmth. It was made as art.
Exactly.
And that's very special. It's just incredibly special. Oh. And it's like the crazy quilt thing we've got going on. We could talk all about this stuff. Chelsea, thank you for coming on the show and
of course
bringing this. And yeah, if you ever want to try a quilt, I've got great books. I don't make a lot of I don't make studio art quilts right now, but I've got great books, and you can come over and we can pour through all my library.
That sounds really good.
You're invited for sure.
Awesome.
Okay. See you next time on This Is My Quilt and on Quilty.
Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield, together we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit, a new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing, cut it close with Hovels. Moda, make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb, manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA.